to talk just regarding Islam, and we'll get to the leader, and then we're done. Just want to show you. These are the people being interviewed. I've seen a few of the videos. They are horrible. I don't believe everything that they said. I don't think no babies were killed and all of that stuff. But it's possible that rape happened. There is no proof. There is no proof, no evidence for any of the claims. I think that on both sides atrocities happened. There seems to be more proof for one side, clearly. And I can only imagine that in a war zone you will have some individuals who are going for sexual violence. But not only in a war zone, this is what shocks me. I think in every European country or in the USA, etc., where there is no war currently, you know how many of these cases are happening. So this has more to do with just sick human beings. And I despise anyone who commits such an act. I think it's unjustifiable. Every other crime can be justified by something, but this is a crime. I think it's the most horrible crime that can simply not be justified. So I despise anyone who commits such an atrocity in this world, no matter what country he's from, and wish much support for anyone who had to experience something like that to go through it. I hope you get rid of all the damage that was caused. These people are being interrogated by the opposite force, so we don't know what happened before. We don't know if they really let them speak, whatever, but it seems pretty accurate and makes sense. Here they talk more about shooting people, etc., clearly innocents. Even though they shot also settlers who they do not see as innocents. But I want to show you from an Islamic perspective. They say it themselves.
بدي أسألك سؤال. قتل الأولاد هذا شيء معقول حسب الدين الإسلامي؟ لا. شو بيقول النبي محمد بهذه الشغلة؟
الصغار ما لهمش دعوة ولا صغار.
أنا بسألك سؤال. أنتوا دخلتوا عشان تقتلوا بأمر من الأخوة من حماس. شو الفرق بينكم وبين داعش؟
المو الفغنيات من حاجة فوق الفقد فيش فرق بالمعة. المو الفغنيات.
The thing is, they seem to have been given different orders.
أسلحة يدافعوا عن حالهم؟
لا ما أطلقوش نار من نار. بس هذاك أجا هيك وقف صار يطق هيك بشكل
صار يرش.
بشكل همج.
وهذا هيك هذا في القرآن هيك بيقول الإسلام؟
لا.
حسب الدين الإسلامي. مش أنت إسلامي؟ الدين الإسلامي بيقول لك هيك تعال اقتل.
لا.
لا. خليني أفهم. هذه التصرفات أنت ما بتشوفها يعني مش زي داعش هيك قتل المدنيين عشوائيا؟ صحيح؟
الدين منع يعني النبي قال لا تقتلوا امرأة، لا تقتلوا طفلا، لا تعقروا امرأة، لا زي فاهم علي؟ الدين ما بيحث على التشويه والتنكيل
يعني حسب ما العمل اللي صار وانت ما شفت، ايش الفرق بين هذا العمل وبين عمل داعش؟
ما في فرق بين التنكيل بحكي.
But he wants to say something more. It's unfortunate that we don't hear what he says. Maybe he would say in matter of the abuse, it's not this. There is no difference. But in matter of the reason for the abuse, there is a difference. I don't know what he was up to say, but I'm not justifying it at all. Like it's good. Yeah, I'm happy that they actually at least say it how it is. That it has nothing to do with religion.
تقتل ناس ويقتلوا أطفال
أطفال are children, not babies.
الدين الإسلامي يقبل هيك؟
أبدا. قلت لك أنا لا تقطع شجرة.
يعني يحيى في اسمين في العالم عملوا اللي انتم عملتوه.
داعش وحماس.
مسموح إنك تقتل مرة هيك؟
ليش القتل هذا كله؟ شو اللي صار؟
مضحوك علينا احنا منه. مغرر فينا ومضحوك علينا منه.
من مين مضحوك علينا؟
This is a resume of this video. Like as a resume of this video, they all seem to have different orders, and they would get, for example, $10,000 if they abduct a person. Other people would just have to go and kill. And it's crazy to hear that people would get a house or 10,000 euros, or I think even both, if they abduct a person, etc. But that's what I'm saying. Like these are some people, and they said they have been tricked. Now, I can't judge, I don't live in the same situation, but if they know that it's evil, they also did something wrong. I think it's like the other soldiers, but at least they know what they're doing is wrong. And so they have been tricked by the higher people. And this is what I mean, this is the final point. The leaders. On the leaders, I agree, I think, fully with you, or almost.
Fantastic politician and
I want to show you
statesman, and
first Netanyahu, just short and not too much going into it, and then the other side.
To the West Bank.
Certainly know
We found
that,
this
but just to remind
video
you.
of Benjamin Netanyahu talking to some settlers on the West Bank. The cameraman does turn off the camera for a moment, but then turns it back on moments later. He is admitting to sabotaging the peace accords that the Israeli government had signed with the Palestinians. That because
we'll get to it further, but this is for the people who are saying Palestinians never miss the opportunity to miss an opportunity. I heard some people saying that. And you see, it has nothing to do with it. It's higher powers who are influencing things.
Or any form of Palestinian autonomy in this land. And then he goes on to explain what his real thinking is on the situation. Netanyahu is a fantastic politician and statesman, and he's able to sort of cover up a lot of these policies in the name of security. But here we see what he really thinks as he's talking to these settlers, thinking he's not being recorded. So, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, exactly. And so, for me, it's always best. I love videos like these because you just see it how it is. It's no words, it's nothing. You just see the person saying actually what it is.
We have just seen how he, with his own words, is admitting that he needs the crime to become unbearable, and this really raises question marks. But let me tell you a bit more about Netanyahu. He was indeed born in Tel Aviv and used to serve in the elite IDF unit, which laid the foundation for his security-oriented leadership. After his military service, Netanyahu studied in the United States, earning degrees from the MIT and Harvard, which contributed to his strategic global outlook. He was the youngest leader in 1996, being elected as prime minister already back then. I can't confirm it 100% right now, but I once saw in a video also that he used to take some predictions from an oracle-like rabbi who died now, and in general he is known for his, in his own way, religious orientation, which aligns with his right-wing Likud party's policies, including the expansions of settlements in the West Bank. But as we saw here, he clearly is playing malicious games, and in part 2 we saw the AI defense system, plus knowing that there came many warnings in advance precisely on what would happen. This is indeed an enigma how October 7th could even occur, but I will let you make up your own minds on that. Netanyahu has held steadfast, avoiding an apology since its happening. He only pointed fingers at his security heads for their inability to prevent the war. He is so decided to keep on going. True leadership is about taking responsibility, not making excuses. But as the journalist told, he is a great politician, and this means it's once again a game of semantics. On the other side, there are actually so many groups. It's not only Hamas. There is PLO, Fatah, and much more, a dozen of them. But I will take Hamas for the contrast because it's the one that is most talked about. And there, from what I know, we have currently 6 main heads. The most known one was Ismail Haniyeh, born on January 29, 1963, in the Al-Shati refugee camp in Gaza. I say was because he has been assassinated in Iran a few days ago on the 31st of July. Haniyeh became the prime minister of the Palestinian Authority in 2006 after Hamas won the parliamentary elections. However, after a violent conflict with Fatah in 2007, Hamas took control over Gaza and Haniyeh became de facto the leader of the territory. Known for his strong religious convictions and commitment to the Palestinian cause, Haniya has been a central figure in the ongoing conflict with Israel. His leadership is marked by efforts to resist Israeli occupation, while also dealing with the challenges of governing Gaza under a strict blockade. To deliver you a background also, Ismail Haniya studied at the Islamic University of Gaza, where he earned a degree in Arabic literature in 1987. During his time at the university, Haniya became involved with Islamic student groups and was politically active, which laid the groundwork for his later involvement with Hamas. After graduating, he worked at the university as an administrator, further deepening his ties with the Islamist movement. There have been various allegations and accusations of corruption against Hamas leaders, including Ismail Haniya. Though concrete evidence is often difficult to verify due to the complex and secretive nature of the organization, critiques have accused Haniya and other Hamas officials of misusing funds intended to be welfare of the Palestinian people. These allegations often stem from rival factions, particularly Fatah and other observers who claim that Hamas leaders have enriched themselves while ordinary Gazans suffer under harsh conditions. However, these accusations remain largely unproven in public records, and supporters of Haniya argue that such claims are part of a broader effort to discredit Hamas. Due to the lack of transparency in the financial dealings with Gaza, it's challenging to substantiate these claims definitively. I myself have not found black and white proof, but it wouldn't surprise me if the truth is between both extremes, as always. And if we consider the claims of the captured terrorists who attacked on October 7th, we saw just earlier, yes, those guys I would also call terrorists because they admitted of committing such deeds, not every Palestinian civilian. But yeah, if we consider their claim of receiving 10,000 euros if they capture someone, that does seem very fishy. And they also said that they have been tricked by the heads. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was corruption among the leaders. But first of all, I don't know what that has to do with the poor civilians having to go through all of the things I showed you. And yeah, I'm generally skeptic of most higher people. But I will tell you that they are certainly not worse than Netanyahu. Anyways, from here on, let's have a quick look into the 5 others. After Haniya's unexpected demise, Gaza needs a new leader to guide them through this conflict. And that is where Yahya Sinwar comes in. He has gathered experience on his side, having spent 22 years in an Israeli jail before being released as a part of a prisoner swap deal. In the past, he has publicly stated that Hamas will not accept any peace agreements with the country and that their ultimate goal is to liberate all of Palestine. This type of rhetoric, of course, does not bode well for potential negotiation and achieving lasting peace. Netanyahu might even like that. Sinwar was the founder of the Hamas security service known as Majd, which manages internal security matters, investigates suspected Israeli agents, and tracks down Israeli intelligence and security service officers. Another influential leader on the Palestinian side is Khalid Mash'al, who has been the head of Hamas's political bureau for over 2 decades. Mash'al has been vocal about Hamas's stance not recognizing Israel as a state and advocating for armed resistance against Israeli occupation. We can watch a short video of him.
What would it take for Hamas to sign on to a ceasefire now?
We want a ceasefire as soon as possible, and that's parallel with the lifting of the siege on Gaza. This is the demand of the Gazan people. I call on the United Nations, Britain and the Americans to go to Gaza and ask them what they want. And I am prepared to accept 100% the answer of the people in Gaza.
What the Americans seem to be working on...
This was 10 years ago, by the way. Then we have a less known one called Mohammed Deif. He is the engineer of the tunnels under Gaza. Apparently, Israelis call him the cat with 9 lives because they never managed to kill him. He was captured but managed to escape. Even though he's one of the most wanted men, we don't know much about him, except that he helps planning attacks, also such as bus bombings, which I don't condone, and capturing soldiers. There were several attempts on killing him, but he is still alive as far as we know. We have almost only one very old picture of him, and on the rest he's masked, apparently. In the meanwhile, he must have changed because his eye was hurt, he lost a hand and a foot, apparently. and his right hand would be called Marwan Isa, who is also a shadowy guy. We don't have much about him. It's debated if he was killed or not. And last but not least, there is Mahmoud Zahar. He is a member of the political leadership. He also studied in Cairo and Gaza and worked as a doctor then in Gaza. Two of his sons died on an attack made on him, and we can also watch a video of him shortly. There's a short one here, also 9 years ago.
The aim was to minimize the tension in the area after the detention of hundreds of the Palestinian people, after the unacceptable treatment of the area around the house of Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, cutting the methods of communication, telephones and others. So the aim was by neutral people asked us, and we actually accepted to meet the Palestinian Authority. We put them in the very hard situation that we are unable to accept the detention without reason, just because they are thinking that they are members or they are supporters of Hamas.
Sheikh Ahmed Yassin also used to be an important leader, apparently, but he was killed in 2004. So yeah, overall, these leaders, I can't really tell you if they indeed are corrupt or not. If someone has solid proof, please let me know. Once again, I can say for sure that Netanyahu is a corrupt, evil leader. The others, if they sincerely order to kill kids or anything like it, are also corrupt in my eyes. If they simply want to fight and liberate Palestinians from their suffering, then it is good what they do and they should continue their work. But as I said, I'm usually a bit distrusty of most of the leaders. Maybe they have good intentions, but in the end, what really interests me is not the leaders. It's never the leaders, it's really the suffering people. And also the suffering Israelis who recognize that their state is being evil towards others and are actually standing up for Netanyahu to leave. I think they deserve peace. I think the Palestinians deserve peace. And I think many of the other misguided Zionist Israelis should either come to the truth or, yeah, there I don't have much sympathy if people don't care for the suffering of others. I just want to show you also a few videos of a known rabbi called Rabbi Manis Friedman, and I wanted to talk to him on this channel actually because I like his other teachings, but for now I paused it because his position on that conflict is awful. But the thing is that he's a pretty known rabbi, and of course he's not speaking for all the Jews. That's not what I think at all. But I think he is one of the Jews that has this very pro-Israel position and is also speaking very openly about it. So let's just hear a few of his arguments, if they make sense. I'll only put sequences, but you can hear the whole thing. It never really changes. I'm not trying to take things out of context. And yeah, let's just hear how he identifies civilians.
What do you do with civilians? It's a good question. What do you do with civilians? What is the Jewish attitude? What's the Jewish law? The Jewish law is you don't kill a civilian.
Like in Islam.
What makes them a civilian? Who's a civilian?
Women, child, babies, elders.
So the law is that if you're fighting a war and one of your enemy surrenders, you're not allowed to kill him. Now he's a civilian because he surrendered. If he says, I want to leave, I just want to leave the country, I'm going away. Don't kill him, let him leave. But if he's standing there without surrender and without leaving, he's not a civilian.
Absolutely not. It's not everybody who leaves the country who is then a civilian. That makes absolutely no sense.
And identify the civilians? That's not my job. The civilians have to identify themselves. Hold up a white flag, I'll know that you're a civilian. I won't shoot you. You're not holding up a white flag.
Yeah, if you've watched all the parts, you will know that that didn't age very well, since they even have shot hostages who were waving the white flag. And in general, this does not explain still why do they mock the people, etc. But we saw this already in the soldier part. Let's close it up.
Out of
Here he's speaking about people that are standing up for Palestine, again with JTV. We saw him in a previous episode.
Out of desperation, they'll pick the first cause that comes their way. Oh, the Palestinians are being killed? Okay, we'll march, we'll protest, we'll defend them. They don't even know where Palestine is, what Palestine is. They don't know where Israel is. But they're marching. And I'd love to go over to them and say, don't you have anything to do? Don't you work for a living? Or go home and make dinner or something.
But something's leading them to pick the anti-Israel side. They could pick either side. And something's leading them to do the hostile one.
Anyways, you saw in the previous and in that video what might lead one to be for the Palestinian side. I really was annoyed when he said this, don't you have anything better to do, go home and cook, etc. Because what he's implying is that it's not your problem, the war is not in your country, so you take care of your own business. Why are you bothered by it? The only thing where I really agree the point, but I don't come to the same conclusion, is when Israelis say that for this conflict everybody is standing up, but there is so much other conflicts in this world, and the people are not standing up. There is 2 points to this. So first of all, I think, yeah, there is much other issues happening around the world, and my conclusion is, if anything, people should stand up also for the other issues, and not that they should stop standing up for an issue that is actually problematic, as you've seen, and go home cooking, right? And the second point is, why do people feel more compelled to stand up for this? It's also because it's officially sponsored by the countries where people are standing up against it, because the countries are funding Israel. Whereas in other countries, the conflicts that happen are portrayed as being bad, and they're just bad. But in this conflict, it somehow seems as if they're like, yeah, we're the most moral army in the world, and the other ones are animals and barbarians, etc. This is the issue in the whole thing, and then they try to stand here as if they were the nice guys. Anyways, just a short take of him about Muslims, if we're looking into Friedman already.
Whether it actually...
As I said, his other teachings are great, interesting, thought captivating, but his position on other religions is just awful and unfounded.
Bring salvation? That's beside the point. If you're looking for salvation, you can only go with Christian Airlines. Now, what if salvation is not your objective and not your destination? What if your destination is that after you die, you want to have 72... Well, Christianity, it's not going to give you that. You go to the airport and you look. Virgin Airlines. Islam, the only one that offers that. So you really can't pick a religion. You got to pick the destination.
Yeah, whatever. If I ever talk to him, he can justify himself for all of this nonsense. That's not what Islam teaches at all. And I'll show you now just how much he knows about Islam. This is just a little side tangent.
Is Judaism more similar to Christianity or to Islam? Well, they both branch off out of Judaism, out of the Torah. In Islam, Moses is the first prophet. In Christianity, the Old Testament is the original testament.
I was about to write it, but I saw like pretty much everyone has made him attentive of the fact that Moses is not the first prophet in Islam, and so you just see already, as always, people allow themselves to talk about something even though they know nothing. Just to be clear, I'm not making a campaign against Judaism. That's not how I think at all. He is a specific rabbi, he's a known rabbi, but as a popular rabbi, he also takes the responsibility. He's not the only one speaking like that, but there are others who speak differently. I think he's like what you would call also a Zionist rabbi, probably. Here we have another rabbi who is also saying that Ishmael is a great danger because of their spiritual power.
And he says Ishmael is the most difficult because they are the only one of our enemies that comes with a spiritual power, not only with physical brutality, but Yishmael comes with spiritual merits. They are a child of Abraham. They have a koach of prayer. They have a merit of Brit Milah, again, which goes back to Abraham. There is a tznius. And the reason why the Golus is so difficult is that we have to counter it with a spiritual power that is greater than their spiritual power. There's no way to stop it, meaning there is no logical way of stopping people who are willing to die for their cause. What, they're threatened with death? Bring it on, hey, that's what I want. There's nothing you can do. So really, the statement of Rav Chaim Vital that Golus Yishmael is impossible to defeat by conventional military means.
Yeah, so what I wonder is, why do they even have to be enemies? Why do you have to eliminate them? Actually, in both religions, as far as I know, there is nothing that says that Muslims and Jews have to be enemies. In the end, all our religions teach us to do good in the world and be good to others, avoid unnecessary wars.
It was always a crusade, and it still is. And therefore, the solution to this problem is a religious solution.
This I agree.
God gave us the land. Read
I
it
don't
in
agree.
the Bible. And nobody messes with the Bible in the Middle East because they're all religious. So how does it make
believe
sense?
The Bible is corrupted.
The religious fanatic says this land is our land.
And I think even the Bible says they will be spread out and without land. But
we have a divine right to it. And you say, well, I don't believe in God. Oh, too bad. That's not an answer. I'm telling you this land is mine because God gave it to me. What's your answer? The answer is, this land has been disputed over religious belief forever. It's time to resolve it once and for all.
I agree with this.
You may be very religious. You pray 5 times a day. I was in the airport one morning, and I'm thinking, should I put on the tefillin here in the airport,
Tefillin is like
or wait till I get to
things.
where I'm going and I'll do it there? I'm thinking, I'll wait till I get there. As I'm thinking this, a guy not far from where I was sitting opens up a little valise, takes out a little carpet, puts it down in front of the Coke machine, and gets down on his face, on his knees. I thought, okay, I'm putting on the tefillin. Not in front of the Coke machine.
You see, now he's making fun about the fact of the Coke machine. Of course, the guy was never praying to the Coke machine. It just happens that Mecca is in that direction in that case. But he sort of admitted, and then he still tries to make fun of it. But apparently, with the spiritual force, he got motivated by a Muslim to put on his tefillin. So that's good. I mean, it's good. Keep on being motivated. And this is what I mean, actually. This is my solution, which maybe is a bit of a fairy tale. Maybe it's wishful. I don't know. But I do indeed agree it is a holy land. It is a religious land. It is a land that should be uniting Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And they should all live side by side in peace. God is the most just and the most forgiving. And since one is a Jewish country and the other one is mainly Muslim with some Christians, they should put the highest instances to God. I understand many people, especially from the Palestinian side, of course, want retribution. From the other side, actually, also. And the Israeli side, of course, is very afraid of any retribution. I think as long as the stronger side is so afraid of any justice and retribution, there will be no solution, because they will want to protect themselves and think that they're right and do more atrocities. I think it is wishful thinking, but inshallah it will happen one day, that they should just put it to the higher instance, to God. He will be the most just, and just draw a final line. And from then on, justice will be the same for everyone, and anyone who commits an atrocity will be judged from then on. And then just believe in God. Everybody builds himself back up, And I think this part of the Middle East should lead as an example. It should be the Holy Lands. They should be a perfect example. They should be full with prosperity and justice and no raves. I think there are enough places in this world to do raves. There is great places to do raves. Why do it in the Holy Lands? Just leave that place holy. Be an example there. All brothers and sisters believing in God can be side by side. There can be exchange, etc. in that space. Because yes, Muslims also have Mecca and Medina, but Jerusalem is indeed an important piece of land for all Abrahamic religions. And all Abrahamic religions teach you to do good, be a good person, be fair. If everybody was following their religion correctly, and rabbis were not advocating for war and shooting anyone who is not leaving the place, well, I think we would get to a better solution and better days. At this point, after all we saw, and there would be so much more I could show you, I really feel it's a war between semantics and words and actual happenings. About the IDF, my mind is pretty much made up. I cannot unsee what I've seen, it's certainly wrong, but for the rest, if you have proofs, I will gladly look into it. If I'm wrong, send me other videos, send me proofs, and I will gladly change my mind. If you write a comment, please put a source with it, make it a valuable comment so everybody can learn something. I will not bother reacting to comments such as "you're a liar," "you're advocating for terrorists," or that kind of stuff if you have nothing to back it up. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, have a good day, and see you next time, inshallah.